Have you ever seen a driver so cunning that he tricked everyone on the grid, including the race director? Well, that's what we'll investigate in today's episode of. Our story begins in the rain-soaked world of 1983. It is the German GP at the Hockenheimring, and the rain is coming down in torrents. The Ferraris of Tambay and Patrese are leading the way, but lurking behind them is a Renault driven by a man with a plan, French driver Alain Prost. You see, as the race progresses, the rain intensifies, causing the leaders to pit for intermediate tires. However, the track is still too wet for these, making them slower than the full weights that they started on. This prompts Tambay to make an agonizing decision: pit again for the full weights or stay out on intermediates, hoping for the rain to stop. Now, back then, the FIA had some, shall we say, outdated rules about pit stops. Specifically, if a driver pitted for any reason, they were required to serve a 10-second stop and go penalty. This rule was designed to prevent teams from making unnecessary and overly frequent pit stops. But it also meant that a driver could effectively be robbed of a victory if his rivals pitted for fresh tires while he was stuck serving a penalty. And here is where our story takes a twist, because the two Ferraris ahead of Prost both pitted for the full wet tires. This should have been great news for Prost. He could now easily pass them and take the lead, but then something unexpected happened. Instead of immediately overtaking the Ferraris, Prost decided to slow down and let them go. For a few laps, he drove slowly enough for the Ferraris to catch back up to him. And then once they were close enough, he let them pass. Now, if you're wondering why he did this, let me explain. See, at this point, the rain was coming down so heavily that no one could see. The visibility was zero, and if this continued, the race would be red flagged and stopped. So Prost made a bold move. He slowed down intentionally to bunch up the cars and help the Ferraris get closer to him. Once they were within 10 seconds, he let them pass. Because according to the rules, if a car is more than 10 seconds behind the car in front of him, he doesn't have to serve a stop and go penalty. Therefore, by letting them pass, he effectively neutralized their pit stop advantage. In other words, Prost had just taken 3 points off the board for his main rivals by exploiting a loophole in the rules. Now, you might be asking yourself, why didn't the race director intervene and stop the Ferraris from gaining an unfair advantage? Well, he couldn't. You see, the rules clearly stated that if a driver pits, he has to serve a stop and go penalty. And the Ferraris had indeed pitted, so according to the letter of the law, they were in the clear. However, after the race, the other teams weren't so sure. They protested the result, claiming that Prost had deliberately slowed down to make it impossible for the Ferraris to overtake without giving away their tire advantage. In response, Prost shrugged and said, "I only did what the rules allowed me to do." Now, you might think that this would have been the end of it. After all, the rules were the rules, but it wasn't. You see, the FIA was in a bit of a pickle. They couldn't afford to rewrite the rules every week just to suit the current situation. But this loophole had become too much of a problem. So they scrambled to come up with a solution for the following race. In the end, they decided that a driver could only gain an advantage from a pit stop if he overtook another car while serving his stop and go penalty. This new rule prevented drivers from slowing down on purpose to block other cars from overtaking them while serving a penalty. As for Prost, he went on to finish second behind Michele Alboreto, who had taken the lead after all the rain had stopped. Despite the controversy, Prost had made a crucial point. Drivers shouldn't be punished for taking advantage of opportunities that the rules presented to them. And thanks to his quick thinking, the sport of Formula One would never be the same again. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and check out my others. And remember, don't be a party-pooping grammar Nazi. That's all for now.